Okay, welcome back to the Career Ready Great Dane podcast. My name is Jessica. This is a podcast out of the Career and Professional Development Office at UAlbany, and I have a special guest on, and I will let him introduce himself.
Hi, Jessica. Thanks for that introduction. My name is Adam Rossi, and I am a program outreach specialist with the New York State Department of Civil Service.
Welcome. And I know we just had a career fair, so you were just there. So thank you for kind of sticking around and talking on my podcast. Before we really dive into your perspective from an employer perspective, someone that recruits students and sees students in different capacities like career fairs, can you tell us about your own story, like your background, how you ended up working for New York State Department of Civil Service?
Yeah, so I come from a family of public servants, most notably my mother. She worked for the state most of her career, so she was always telling me to take the exams, get on the list, and start looking at some of these jobs. So for me, it was something that was always in my life in the realm of possibilities for a career. My first experience working in civil service was as an intern for the Attorney General's office, followed by an internship with the executive chamber. And through that internship, it gave me the great full hands-on experience, and I was able to turn that into a full-time position with the executive chamber before I did leave state service for a time just to explore other opportunities. But during that time, I still took civil service exams. I got on the lists, and ultimately, I was able to get hired off the program outreach specialist exam. I worked for the Workers' Compensation Board for a few years before ultimately landing my current position here with civil service.
Okay. And how long have you been in your role?
I've been in this role for a little under 2 years now. So, not new, but certainly not a savvy vet yet, but we're getting there.
Okay. And for students who are not familiar, can you walk us through how civil service works, like the process? Because I think it feels intimidating, especially with exams or grades or, there's a lot of jargon. Can you walk us through?
Yeah, so applying for civil service jobs, it is a bit different than applying for other jobs in the private sector or the nonprofit sector. So we have what we call the civil service merit system. So this is the basis for all of our hiring practices for these jobs. And what it means is that we have rules for our jobs that must be followed just to ensure that we are hiring individuals based solely on their qualifications and experience. So we have this process in place because it prevents hiring based on connections or political affiliation. Since we are working in government, we want to avoid all that. And we want to make sure we're hiring folks equally and based on their qualifications and nothing else.
Okay.
There are several pathways into civil service. Of course, as you mentioned, the most well-known is taking the civil service exams. But we also have several positions that don't require exams that you can apply for so long as you meet certain qualifications. And then we also have our 55BC program for individuals and veterans with disabilities, so that if you do not have the ability to take a civil service exam because of a disability, we have this pathway for you as well to kind of get an entry point into civil service and find some jobs that you qualify for.
Okay. And I know there's the New York Helps program, which sort of helped to bypass the civil service exam process. Can you talk a little bit more about the New York Helps program?
Yeah, so New York Helps is a program that we have temporarily waived civil service examinations for a number of our competitive permanent positions that typically would require you to take a civil service exam and get on that list in order to be eligible for that. But right now, thanks to New York Helps, you can apply for these positions as long as you meet the minimum qualifications, no exam required. I will say that this program is set to sunset at the end of June of this year. And while we work on our current transformation process for the future of the Department of Civil Service and state jobs and hiring, we've already heard from a number of local agency stakeholders that they want to extend New York Helps. It's been really great for them, and they want to keep it going. And also to allow them ample time for implementation at the municipal level, so some of the local government agencies, just to ensure that there's alignment within their budget cycles. So there was an internal review and coordination, and so it was recently announced that there are plans to extend New York Helps from the Civil Service Commission for local governments. We do have more to come on the exact timing, but the extension, that's going to allow more time for the local engagement and input into that transformation process before we, go full steam ahead.
Okay. So what about myths? Are there myths around hiring and working for New York State that you want to dispel, or you wish, okay, stop talking about that. That's not true.
I think so. I think the biggest myth is that it's too hard to get into state. And admittedly, like even you said, there's some of the rules, some of the terminology, it's pretty confusing. It can get pretty intimidating. And admittedly, the process does take a little longer than some of us would like at times. But there are resources to assist anyone who does have questions, most notably my team and me at the Centers for Careers in Government. So I mentioned I've been in this role for a little less than 2 years. So this program, this Centers for Careers in Government program, actually started in April of 2025. So I'm one of the original members, I guess, and we are all over the state. So we have regional representatives across the state who are here to assist anyone who needs help navigating civil service jobs and understanding the merit system that we just discussed. We host workshops throughout the regional career centers. We go to schools, we're at community groups, job fairs, and we're always happy to help. So depending on where you live, we have a CCG who's willing to help you with jobs in your region. I am the Capital Region representative, so anyone looking for information on jobs or internships in Albany, I would be the person to contact.
Okay. So thinking about, it might take a little bit of time, but it's not impossible. You just have to sort of think ahead and maybe take some civil service exams. If someone were graduating this May and we're in 2026, at what time would you say, okay, start looking?
Start looking now.
Okay.
Because we have, especially now with New York Helps, we have a number of jobs that you don't necessarily need that bachelor's degree for. So there's jobs that they could qualify for right now. We do have summer internships open right now, so you can certainly go on the civil service website, create an account for the internship portal, and apply for internships through there. But also, because there's no exams, and we, like I said, we are set to sunset Helps in June from the state perspective at least. Now is really the time to take advantage, look at jobs. If you want to wait until you get that bachelor's degree or your master's degree or whatnot, I would say certainly start looking again around April or May.
Okay.
But we update the jobs website every day. Every day we have new state jobs posted. So just be diligent. Look as often as you can, and if you see something you qualify for and it interests you and you think you would be a good fit for it, definitely apply.
Okay. And I think talking about fit, what types of majors or skills tend to do well in state or civil service roles?
Well, we have something for everyone. That's the beauty of civil service is whatever career path you want to take, there's going to be room for you in public service. Different roles do require different skill sets. So this is kind of why we have different classifications for some of our jobs in terms of whether they need an exam or not. But if you are passionate about helping people and having a rewarding career, there's really no better place to look for than civil service jobs. Each of our agencies has a specified mission. Our employees are dedicated to do their part. And really, that's what we look for in our employees, are people who are dedicated to that mission and dedicated to serving New Yorkers and helping their community and making New York a better place to live.
Okay. And what do you think makes a career at the state appealing?
Well, for one, doing rewarding and meaningful work is pretty appealing to most people, I would think.
Yeah.
So that's huge, huge selling point for us. But really, if you talk to most state employees, they will tell you our benefits packages they're a huge selling point. They're one of the best you'll come across. So all full-time permanent state employees are entitled to the New York State retirement system, which is one of the strongest pension plans you'll find anywhere. Our health insurance program, which is also pretty phenomenal. We include dental and vision coverage at very little to no cost, and we do also offer some very generous paid time off. So you're getting a lot of perks there from the benefits side. But also, career mobility is something we really pride ourselves on. We want to see our employees thrive and grow their careers. So we have opportunities for employees to get promoted or change their career throughout 90 plus agencies anywhere in the state. And the way our system works is it allows employees to look into these opportunities at different agencies. So if you're not finding a promotional opportunity or a transfer opportunity in the agency you're working for, you can look at one of the other 90 plus agencies we have, see what you're eligible for, see what you're on lists for, and if you were to secure that promotion, you get to go there. You know, whatever location you want to work in, whatever agency you're interested in or wants to hire you, you can go there, and it allows you to keep your benefits, keep all your paid time off, which is not something you get when you're in the private sector switching jobs, which is huge. And then lastly, we have very strong job protections for our employees. Many of these jobs are represented by a union. And civil service laws in general just prevent agencies from terminating permanent employees without cause. So you can wake up and go to work every day knowing that, you know, you have a job, your job is safe, your job is secure.
Yeah, no, I think that's important, and sort of a interesting job market landscape. That's to have that security is key.
Definitely.
So let's switch gears, because fittingly today you were here at a career fair. So I just want your perspective in terms of like interacting with our students. So what do you think is one thing students often overlook or misunderstand when talking to state employers at, say, a career fair?
Well, and let me just preface this by saying that I've come across many intelligent, great students at these career fairs. I always enjoy coming to them, especially here at UAlbany. I think there's some misconceptions or just minimal knowledge in general, not just among the career fair folks, but in everyone in general, of just how impactful and meaningful these government jobs are. One of my favorite parts of the job is like meeting different state agencies or local agencies and employees and learning what their roles are, what they entail, and kind of the impact they're making. And I kind of have a personal story on this because I was actually guilty of this myself. So when I started working for the Workers' Compensation Board, I really wasn't sure how I was going to be able to make a direct impact, since, you know, workers' comp was not really an area I was familiar with. So, you know, it was kind of all new to me, and I was like, I don't know if this is really going to be a good fit for me. I don't know how I can't see myself really making an impact. But I quickly grew into that role, and it was in public information and public outreach, kind of like what I'm doing now. So part of my role was to provide information and support and guidance for injured workers and businesses, and making sure they know the workers' comp laws and any provider that's treating a workers' comp patient. So through my few years there, I was able to learn. They didn't throw me in there day one and expect me to be an expert at workers' comp. They train you, they guide you, they let you know what you need to know, and you learn along the way. But it was really fascinating and really rewarding for me just to see that, yes, I was able to make that impact through my outreach and through the information that our unit was providing to help injured workers and small businesses and doctors. And on that note, I think something that gets overlooked is that you don't have to be an expert in the particular field or the topic you want to work in with the state. You don't need to be an accounting expert to work for the Department of Taxation and Finance. You don't need to be a health professional to work for the Department of Health. State agencies offer so many roles and opportunities beyond their direct mission that will allow like a common layperson to learn more about the mission on the job while they're there. Kind of like my experience with workers' comp.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What about an interaction at a career fair that you felt was memorable? Like, what are some things students can do to really stand out?
Yeah, so again, like I come across so many intelligent and promising students here at the career fairs. And especially ones who tell me that they're looking for a career that makes a difference or gives them meaning. That gets me really excited because that's what we're offering. So anyone who tells me that, I'm always happy to share about careers in public service and how it really is a perfect fit for them.
Good. Okay. So really aligning with the mission.
Yeah, and it's like like today, we were talking about, I'm studying psychology and mental health, and I'd like to do work in human services. Okay, well, you're going to want to talk to Office of Mental Health or Office of Children and Family Services,
Right.
or someone who's looking into law. We have a number of agencies and opportunities for them that way. So,
Got it.
especially if they know what they want to do and they see that pathway, I can guide them that way.
Perfect. You also host webinars for our students to talk about the civil service process and your role in helping with that. So what questions do you always get, and what are some questions you wish students would ask more?
So I get a lot of questions on how to stand out when applying for jobs or internships, and what qualities and things like that. Unfortunately, that's not my area of expertise.
Okay.
I'm not privy to what other agencies or hiring managers are looking for in candidates. But I do always encourage the students, just be diligent, apply for anything you qualify for, anything you think you would really enjoy. Because again, with these jobs, with the missions, you're going to be doing rewarding, meaningful work. So it's going to be something that you really want to have that passion to help out with. In terms of what I would like to hear more, I would love to hear more questions on career exploration. So in my case, the career I was planning in college was not the career I ultimately ended up with.
That happens so often. That's why they say make a plan with pencil.
That's right. I thought I was going to be working for ESPN and covering the World Series, and but here I am, and that's fine. I'm very happy with what I do. But I think anyone who's preparing to enter the workforce should keep an open mind. In government jobs especially, you might find yourself in a role where you never really envisioned for yourself, but it turns out to be a really great fit. Again, like my experience at the Workers' Compensation Board, you talk to a 21-year-old Adam and say, hey, you're going to be working in workers' compensation. I'd be like, what? But here we are. And so you always got to keep that open mind.
So let's move back into sort of the process. So civil service exams can feel intimidating. Students are here, they're taking classes, they have exams for their courses, and now, to get a job, they have another exam. What should students know to feel more confident about sitting for an exam?
Well, again, currently we do have New York Helps. So there are no exams for jobs open to the public. As long as you meet the minimum qualifications for the job posting, you can certainly apply. And again, like I said earlier, you can apply now even though you don't have that bachelor's degree. We're still going to have jobs and traineeships that you may qualify for. So definitely look into those. Oftentimes, I think people they're afraid of not performing well on an exam. So again, with New York Helps, that barrier is eliminated. So there's no exam for the job, you just apply. Now, for promotional exams, those employees are already in state service. So these are the exams we offer for employees who are looking to get promoted or maybe transfer exams to transfer one for one career for another. There are test guides for civil service exams on the civil service website. So anyone who's going to take a civil service exam, or even after when Helps expires and we start offering exams again, if they want to look at some test guides, they certainly can. The eligible list, so once you take an exam and once you pass that exam, you're put on what we call an eligible list. Those are active for 3 to 4 years. So during that time, dozens of agencies across the state are going to be hiring for these roles. So you'd be surprised how quickly we get through these lists, especially at the local municipality level. So as long as you pass and remain on the active list, you have a legitimate shot at getting a civil service career. And in the near future, we are working on a new jobs portal and application management system that's going to make hiring more efficient and intuitive for both the job seekers and the government agencies. And those agencies are HR professionals. It's really going to streamline recruitment, modernize the hiring process. We're really excited about this. We've been discussing the work with some stakeholders. So if you go to the civil service website, there's a section on there I think it's our transformations listing, and you can look and you can learn more there about how we're kind of transforming the civil service system and making it more modernized and easier to kind of hire off of it.
Oh, good. Okay. So what about a student that applies? How important are internships, part-time roles, campus involvement? Is there a hierarchy? Is one better than the other when they're applying for New York State positions?
Any experience is good experience.
Okay.
So especially when it comes to these state positions, again, we have to follow certain rules when hiring for these positions. So a lot of these positions will require certain years of experience. So however you can get that experience, that's going to pay dividends for you in the end. With the internships and part-time jobs, which can serve as an entry point for a career in state government. And the great thing about these roles is, so any paid internship or any part-time role allows the intern or the part-time employee to opt into the state retirement system and start accruing that service time for their pension. So, if that individual doesn't remain in the state or does not retain that employment right away, but maybe years down the road, they find themselves working a state job or getting on a state exam list and getting hired off of that list, that past service time that they served as an intern or as a part-time worker, that can still count toward their pension. So that's a huge benefit.
That is huge.
Yeah.
And I know students, it's hard to really wrap their heads around retirement and making that a priority, because it feels so far in the future. But I remember working at UAlbany in residential life, and I almost feel like when I was doing the paperwork, there wasn't even an option. It was like, you are going into the retirement system. And thank goodness, because I'm in tier 4 now, and it's a beautiful thing, right? And like time is, as a young person, is hopefully on your side.
Yeah, and I'm in the same boat as you, because when I came back to work for the state in 2019, I was in tier 6. But because I had that internship from my time in college, I was able to get back into tier 4.
Wow.
Which, and for anyone who's listening,
what
these tiers mean. So the benefits are, the lower the tier, your benefits are going to be different. So with tier 4, you work 30 years until you're 55, you can retire, get your full pension. With tier 6, you're fully vested after 5 years, and you can receive your full pension benefit at age 63. So there are differences in when you get in. So the earlier you can get in and start accruing that time, the better off you're going to be in the future. And I know, like you said, students today, they have enough on their plate with exams and trying to just graduate because they're not thinking about retirement. But let me tell you, it goes fast.
It goes fast,
and before you know it, you're going to be like, man, wish I had, prepared better for retirement when the time, back in the day.
Right. It's like saving for anything, right?
Sure, yeah.
Time is helpful, even if it's just a little bit. It all accumulates and it accrues. So it's just a really great benefit. Just wrapping up, just general advice for our Great Danes. What advice would you give to students who are interested in public service, but they don't even know where to start?
Well, you can always reach out to me or any of our other CCGs in the local regions. We're always happy to help any way we can. So we cannot take your resume. We can't, get you a state job, but we can help you navigate the site. We can help you answer any questions you have in terms of that terminology or certain pathways. If you go on the civil service website, there is a section for the Centers for Careers in Government, so you can see the regions we're in. You can reach out to us. Again, if you're in the Albany area or any of the greater capital region, you can always reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I believe you can find my email address on the website. I also highly recommend creating a personal ny.gov account and creating a profile for our internship portal. And that personal ny.gov account, that's really your hub for everything when it comes to state jobs. So anytime you want to apply for an internship, anytime you want to apply for an exam, anytime you want to look into this, maybe apply for the 55BC portal, you get accepted into that, you want to look into jobs there, you're going to use that ny.gov account. So that's really a huge thing for anyone looking to work into the state, is get that ny.gov account. You can go do so right on our civil service website. And so that's going to give you access to pretty much everything. I also recommend going onto the civil service website and signing up for email notifications so that when we are ready to announce new exams, you'll get them sent right to your email address so you'll know when they're coming and you can sign up for them. They are free to take. All the state civil service exams are free to take. If you are ready for full-time work now, again, we've talked about this at length throughout the podcast, but please take advantage of the HELPS program while it's still around. You can apply for the jobs at statejobs.ny.gov. That is where we are posting most of our open positions right now. And again, there's no exam required. As As long as you meet the minimum qualifications, you can apply. So really take advantage of that. And again, always reach out to me or my fellow CCGs if you have any questions.
Perfect. That was great. A lot of good tips. Anything else we didn't cover that you feel like you want to bring up?
No, I think you did a great job, Jessica. Kudos to you. But again, I do want to just reiterate and harp on how important these roles are and how rewarding of a career it is working for the state. And you know, even me just going out to job fairs or hosting workshops and talking to folks who said, you know, you really helped me. I was so confused. I was so lost. And now you've made it easier for me to understand. Like, that's great. That's a great feeling for me. And, you know, that's just a small role. We have so many people behind the scenes doing such incredible work that they don't get enough credit for. So I really just want to give a shout out to all of them just for thank you for all the great work you do for New York State and at our local levels too. Just thank you for all the work you do in your community. And the more people we can get into these roles that have that passion and want to make an impact, the better New York is going to be as a whole.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Adam. New York State Civil Service. I appreciate having you on, and I appreciate you staying on after a long career fair day, talking to a ton of students. I'm sure you're tired, but thanks for coming on.
This doesn't make me as exhausted as my kids are going to make me later, so I always appreciate the time, Jessica. Thank you so much.
Shout out to your kids.
Shout out to the kids. I know they're going to be listening. They're very excited about this. So
cool. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Yep.